Go live. Good. Oh, need to adjust the, I need to adjust my camera settings a little bit. But hello, everybody. My name is Chris. Doing a live stream just for the heck of it today. Today's day off work. I'm going to be recording an episode tonight. In the meantime, I'm just hanging out. I've got some downtime, and I thought I'd do some sketching. Let's see. Ow! Ooh. Yeah, I just grabbed my nib by the pointy end, which is not what you're supposed to do. Let's turn off the autofocus and zoom in a little bit. Let's pull it down here. There, that's kind of centered for the most part. I can move that around a little. And then we'll see if anybody is jumping in the chat room, because I haven't announced this. This is totally impromptu, just trying to have some fun. Let's see if anybody has jumped into the chat room. Oh, several people have. Well, hello. Let's see. We've got Sarav, Robbie, Jonathan, Magnus, Ironshell, Bluesy Diamond, Matthew, Rochau, and Ziz. Oh, and Shirley. Hello. And Larry Tunes. All right. Well, that's great. And hello to Mr. Howell as well. Awesome. Hey, folks. How are you? Do I use a G pen? I do have a school G pen, if that's what you were asking, Sarav. So bear with me one moment. And I've been doodling today, and sometimes when a doodle comes out well, that's when I decide to do an impromptu live stream. So that's what I'm doing here, but I'm going to post this to some of my social media platforms real quick. So give me a moment, and then we'll get started. How's everybody doing today, though? Hopefully you are all well. I am hard at work on an episode of Comic Tropes, an actual episode, and that'll be done within the week. Yeah, so in the meantime, just felt like, this is the G pen artists use for manga. See? Right there. For manga. School G. For manga. I do have one. And I actually got this in Japan. But that's not what I'll probably be using today. But yes, I do have one. Greetings from LA. I'm going to be going down to LA in about 2 weeks. Just for a quick little weekend. Chrissy and I are going to visit. My first time catching this live. Well, happy to have you. Hello to a bunch of people that have jumped in. Shonen, PB Multiverse, Ivan, Ken, Anthony, what else? Dennis, Bipolar, Owl. Nice to see all of you here. That's wonderful. I really appreciate it. All right, I keep getting distracted. Here we go. Posting to some social media channels. I know it's Friday afternoon, and let's say, even by East Coast time, probably most people are at work right now. I understand that, but this is my day off, so that's what I'm working on. Hello to Mandela Butterfly. Hello, Miguel, Fujiwara, Bart. Nice to have so many people here. That's great. Is this Spider-Man based on any artist version in particular? Nope, nobody in particular. Let's see. Hello, Bruno's, Ethan, The Dark Savior. Looks like this ended up being a pretty good time for a lot of people, so that's nice. I'll be with everybody shortly, just posting that this is going live to let a few more people know about it if they want to jump in. And then I can start talking about comics and updating you guys on like what kind of media I've been enjoying, from movies to comics to TV. And I'm always curious what everybody else out there is enjoying right now. So feel free to share recommendations with each other, and maybe I'll catch some of them too. You never know if it'll get it started on a conversation. Like the smaller eyes on Spidey, closer to Ditko and Ramita. Yeah, you know what? I did that as sort of a placeholder, but my idea here is actually maybe to draw Peter Parker, not necessarily in his Spider-Man suit. I started with that as sort of a placeholder, and then as I was drawing, I thought it would be more fun to sort of draw him in like regular shoes and like sort of a jacket. These are like just the tiniest indications of that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna keep drawing here actually before I ink anything. Watching this stream at work. Okay, I won't tell. Hello from Ecuador. Cool. Always exciting to have people from other countries and other parts of the world. Thank you so much for jumping in. That's really awesome. Let's see. I'm almost done. And then I can focus on this. You know, there's a movie that I want to see that I haven't been able to yet. The new Nicolas Cage movie, Pig. I really want to see that. But I did see Snake Eyes, and I liked it. I liked it quite a bit, actually. So that was kind of fun. Liked it more than I expected to. So, got that going for me. Alright, that's, I shared it to a few channels, and that's probably plenty for now. So, I can always erase if I need to. I've got my kneaded eraser here, but I'm going to see what I can do about actually drawing in maybe Peter Parker instead of Spider-Man's mask. And let's see if that comes together for me. Just because I don't feel like I've drawn Peter nearly as much, and just felt like that could be a little bit of a different challenge. Love the crossover with me and cartoonist kayfabe. Well, yeah, I interviewed Ed Piskor about his current comic Red Room. That was a lot of fun. I definitely respect Jim and Ed, and I've been trying to promote their channel to my viewers since they came out. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's really well done. So, thanks. Glad you enjoyed that. Yeah, I'm sort of imagining this being like a Peter that's maybe like late for something. You know, that's something that either Peter or the Flash seems to be good at, is being late. Which Spider-Man artists are you drawing inspiration from? I'm not necessarily drawing it from anyone in particular for what I'm drawing right this minute, but I would say that some of my favorites definitely include both Ramitas, Jr. and Sr. I've really liked a lot of what John Romita Jr. has done. Of course, Steve Ditko, really high up there for me personally. I like how skinny and sort of nerdy and unique he made him. So he's a really important influence in how I approach Spider-Man if I draw him. Others that are towards the top, I mean, I think that somebody like Ross Andrew is tremendously underrated. Gil Kane had a really nice run. Stuart Immonen is a fantastic artist that I think a lot of people respect, but a lot of people sort of like sleep on the fact that he did Spidey for a while. So I don't know. There's so many. And then if we look at like something like Miles Morales, I think Sarah Pacelli is amazing. She's just a fantastic artist. He's late for school, maybe, or maybe late for work or a date or something like that. I don't know. Like maybe I could draw like his camera sort of hanging around his neck, right? Like, you know, sort of help imply some motion. You know, I doubt I'll have time to finish this drawing today, but we'll just take it as far as I can in the time that I have, and just see what happens. Have you been reading Sinister War? I haven't even heard of what that is. Sorry. Australia. Wow, that's pretty far away. You've got to be the furthest one watching today. Thank you for jumping in, Poco Loco. Do you like military science fiction like Starship Troopers, Warhammer 40k, Halo, etc.? Well, I've never played Warhammer 40k, so I can't say that I'm an expert there, but I like Starship Troopers, I like Halo, so yeah, I guess I like that. Are you for or against drawing Peter as a stereotypical nerd? Well, not as an adult, I don't think. You know, I think I think, you know, he's very, like, you know, muscular and fit with his Spider-Man powers, so he may, like, act a bit nerdy, but I don't think he should necessarily look like a nerd. He's also sort of an adult now, you know, like that wasn't the case when he started, but I think you know, you gotta sort of factor in that he's been growing up for a long time. So there's sort of a decent take on a face, and then we'll just sort of flesh in some details as we go. Sort of put some laces dangling there. Gonna have to define maybe some of his muscles just a little bit more than where they are now, but I think we've got the basis of what I need to start sort of making this more visible to you guys by throwing in some ink. Sinister Wars, the conclusion to Nick Spencer's run. Oh, I haven't read really any of Nick Spencer's run, I have to admit. Well, I looked at some of it just because I was curious about Ryan Ottley's art in it, and I thought the art looked fantastic, but so far I haven't really come across anything by Nick Spencer that, like, super wowed me, so, like, yeah, it wasn't a title I've been following right now. Nothing against the guy, I just, yeah, not really something I'm keeping up with. But to be honest, guys, I don't read that many ongoing superhero books at any one time. You know, like 3 or 4 superhero books, and then a lot of the rest of what I read is going to be, a mix of back issues and sci-fi and crime. I really like good crime fiction by guys like Brubaker and Phillips and stuff like that. So, David Lapham. So my tastes these days I like a lot of these characters, but I tend to only, like, dig in and follow superheroes when a good creative team is on it that also doesn't have to do a lot of, like, crossovers with anybody else. So, like, they're sort of left to do their own thing. An example is Immortal Hulk, or say when Sean Gordon Murphy was doing his Batman White Knight. You know, like, things that don't really have to connect to much else in terms of continuity. They just sort of are allowed to be their own story with a beginning, middle, and end. I tend to be more satisfied with stuff like that. Suede jacket and jeans. Perfect timing for Europeans. Hello from London. Oh, that's cool. Well, that's exciting to have a bunch of people from places like Ecuador and Australia and England. So hello to all my foreign viewers. I think that's all of you. Yeah, I'm at a point with the channel where, like, in order to get better engagement, I need to be uploading more regularly, and it's a real challenge for me to upload more regularly than, like, once every 2 weeks or so because of just how busy I am with, like, work. And I can't really quit work because I need to keep my health insurance, you know, my health benefits. Otherwise I'd have to pay for them myself, and YouTube isn't quite successful enough to pay for all that, plus, you know, mortgage and car bills and things like that. So I'm at this, like, really weird place where YouTube is definitely to quite a good degree successful, but it's really hard to commit to it full time. And because I'm not committing to it full time, YouTube's algorithm is sort of penalizing me. It doesn't recommend it to as many new people, so, like, the views aren't quite as high as they were at a certain point. Hola to Mexico. That's cool. Well, this is perfect pre-vid viewing. Okay, thank you, Kieran. Do you like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? Well, I need to read more of it. I need to. I've only really read about the first book, I guess. Now that I think of it, like in terms of Tankaban, I have a few more, so I keep sort of intending to get to it, but yeah, I'm sort of doing that slowly. I didn't love the artwork, but I did appreciate how weird it was, and I know a lot of people really like it, so I do intend to read more of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, at least the first couple arcs, to get a sense of where it's all going and what it is. I definitely would like to familiarize myself. Have you seen You Were Never Really Here by Lynn Ramsey? No, I don't think I have. Sorry. It sounds familiar, actually, but I don't recognize it. Welcome to Hero Level, says Lord. Oh, and he's a member, or she. Thank you very much for the support. I just feel like I'm maybe zoomed in a little too much. It looks kind of blurry to me. I don't know if it looks blurry or clear to you guys. And some of that might be that at some point I need to get a better webcam up here. The webcam needs to be just a little bit better, but let's try to zoom out just a little, and I think it might look a little sharper anyway, even if you're not going to see the detail quite as close. Yeah, that looks good. Well, thank you very much, Lord, for your support. When you become a member on YouTube, you get access to certain perks. Some of them are things like you see Lord has like custom what do you call it, icons and badges. And hey, my sister's here and she's at work, but she's jumping in. Thank you. Favorite Kirkman comic? That's a challenge. I've been reading absolutely everything Robert's done since the beginning. Do I have something that stands out as head and shoulders above the rest? I'm super biased with, like, it was really exciting time when the first 6 issues of things like Invincible and Walking Dead were coming out, because I'm also friends with the artists there, Tony and Corey, so that meant a lot. I really love his early issues of Battle Pope because they would really make me laugh, but my favorite Kirkman book. He's also, of course, published a lot of great stuff over the years, like Rex Mantooth and Manifest Destiny. My favorite. I'm giving it some serious thought. It's really hard. It's probably somewhere towards the early first years of Walking Dead. I guess I just really appreciated what he was doing there, and I felt like he came up with a lot of different and unique characters that were interesting and engaging. And yeah, I guess I'll just sort of choose that, but I don't have a specific issue number right now. I'd have to actually flip through them. Hey, Marvin Nation, another member. Thank you. Oh, hi, you caught me not watching your live stream. Okay, that's fair. You can always, I always archive these. You can always watch this stuff later, so that's fine too. Other things you get if you're a member. I have started putting out a weekly for members only. I review the comics that I read that week, so I make a weekly episode just for members talking about the comics that I read, including any back issues, foreign issues, indie, whatever I've read. I give my thoughts on it. So that's kind of fun. Just an impromptu extra episode that I do just for members. Just letting you guys know. So yeah, instead of drawing Spidey's mask, I'm drawing him in just his ordinary clothes. And I'm going to have to map this out just a little for myself. I'm going to put him in a jacket. And so that would flow what? Kind of Something like that. Belt is going to be somewhere down around here. I'm going to give him a tucked in shirt. These can be jeans, so I'll have a little bit of folds that I'll have to figure out here and here. I'll put him in a jacket. So it'll go boom, and then the arc will go more like that. Yeah, okay, that works. What is the best indie comic you have read? The best? I'm super biased to liking early Ninja Turtles by Eastman and Laird. That was like kind of the first indie stuff that I'd read, along with The Tick. That's like really high up there. I really love The Tick. This pen is actually sort of dying on me a little, so I'm going to see if I've got another one that I can use instead. Bear with me. I'm just looking at my materials here. Darn it. I thought that I had more. Well, that sucks. What's this? Oh, hold on. I've got like one that I've never opened before. I'll give this a try. It's medium. Well, I'll give it a try. You're going to see me use a new tool. Hi, Chris. I hope you're doing well. Any advice about inking hair comic style like you just did? What's your favorite superhero? That is a super common question, but that's okay. Miles Morales is called Kilometers Morales in Latin America. It's a good joke. It's a good joke. I would say for hair, you just have to like focus on coming up with hair strands, and then also what else? Just lighting. Just keep in mind where the lighting source is coming from. Okay, so I've never used this kind of brush pen before, actually. I don't think so. Let's give it a shot here. And what I'll do to be on the safe side is just grab another piece of paper here. I've got sort of like a just sketch paper. What are current superhero runs you're reading? Give me a moment while this filters down. Current ones that I'm reading. Immortal Hulk, which is about to wrap up. What else do I have that's superhero related? Jeez, I'm reading lots of Image comics that I'm realizing are not technically superhero books. I guess Ultra Mega qualifies as superhero, though. That's pretty good. Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin. Beta Ray Bill by Daniel Warren Johnson. What else? I'm reading original like Hellblazer, so John Constantine. It's not really a superhero, but a little bit, sort of. Is this even punctured properly? I'm opening it over something else. Yeah, that should be working. Come on. Remove cap and unscrew barrel. Press firmly the narrow end of the cartridge into tip unit. I did. Replace barrel and tighten securely. Hold pen vertically with tip down until ink drains down the bristles, and then make test strokes to get ink. Oh, it's finally starting. Okay, maybe I just needed to screw it in a little bit more. What else am I reading? Spider-Man Spider Shadow is a What If book that I'm reading. That's almost over too. Somebody asked what specifically I'm reading for superheroes, though. X-Men, but none of like the sort of related spin-offs. It's starting to come out. Okay, there we go. There we go. Almost there. Still a little faint. Come on. You should read Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil. Yeah, I probably should. I've liked everything by Chip Zdarsky that I've read, so I probably should, huh? fine am I going to be able to make this? We're getting there. We're getting there. All right. Somewhat fine. Yeah, if I'm delicate with this, it'll work. If I'm delicate. All right. So there we go. We're starting to finally get some strokes together. Very stern-looking Pete. He means business. Well, it's not that he's meant to look so stern. I gave him a little bit of a smirk here. It's just that he's also flying through the air, you know? I mean, I figure he's got wind in his face, so I guess I just didn't want to have him, like, you know, looking too happy-go-lucky. I feel like that would affect your vision as you go through the air. Maybe I'm giving it too much thought, but better too much than too little, I figure. You know what? I don't love this. It would be good for thicker lines, and I'm trying to do just something a little too delicate for this to work. So let me see what else I have to work with. Oh, thank you so much for this. Reading any comics from South America. I don't think I'm reading anything from South America right now. I'm just thinking it through. I've been getting lots of requests for things from South America. A lot of people want me to review Cyber 6, so I could see that happening someday. We'll see, you know, we'll see. I think that this will work a little better. Let's see. Have I read Invincible? I proofread Invincible, so of course I read it. I had to read it. You watch the cartoon and are extremely tempted to read the comics. Well, I'm biased, of course, because of what I just told you, but I strongly recommend the comics. I think that they're fantastic. I think that you get a good mix of, like, what you'd expect out of a superhero book and unexpected things. You know, sometimes the villains unfortunately get like a big win and it changes things, and that's kind of different from what you usually get to see in comics. So yeah, I strongly recommend Invincible, and then if you like that, there's other superhero books that Robert's done that are even part of the same universe. We've got Astounding Wolfman, of course Tech Jacket, which is awesome. Not as many issues of that. Brit, Guardians of the Globe, and Guarding the Globe, various titles there that are related. So yeah, there's a lot of superhero stuff if you like. Capes, there's a lot of superhero stuff in that same world if you like it. What are your thoughts on the Jodoverse? Oh yeah, I do appreciate Alejandro Jodorowsky's work. I haven't read all of it yet. I've read the Inkle, of course. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, I think one of the nice introductions you can get to Alejandro Jodorowsky is beyond, you know, of course, watching his films, which some people will love and other people, you know, they're just not for because they're so weird. I think the documentary Jodorowsky's Dune is just a fascinating movie about his ideas for making a Dune movie. And when that fell apart, he just kept working with artist Mobius, and they started creating a whole universe of like a sci-fi universe with a lot of the same ideas of what Jodorowsky had planned on doing with his Dune movie. So that's kind of a good starting point in a way, like just that documentary, get a sense of what he was trying to accomplish. So ambitious, so many amazing people that he got involved. It's in a way, it's kind of crazy that he couldn't get it to completion with all the talent he had behind it, from like, Marlon Brando to Salvador Dali to the Rolling Stones, like just an amazing crew. But it fell apart. I have no idea if he could have done something like that, Raul, but Jodorowsky, obviously very avant-garde type of filmmaker, and he has some strange ideas for storytelling. And in some ways that makes comics the perfect medium for him, because comics have so much less sort of oversight. You can have an editor, you can have a publisher that'll give their 2 cents, you collaborate, but it's such an unfiltered vision compared to something like TV or movies, where there's just so much more money behind it that, of course, the people putting the money forward. Did I say Rolling Stones? I was thinking that I think he was going to have Mick Jagger act in it. Yes, Pink Floyd was going to do the music. Excuse me. Yeah, and you're right, a lot of the people that were working on Jodorowsky's Dune, Iron Shell, did go on to work on Alien. Not Steve O'Bannon. Dan O'Bannon. Of course, H.R. Giger and Mobius all worked on Alien as well. So, yeah. Thank you, Pensive Lobster. Common complaint with JoJo is that its beginning, it's very bland and boring. Do you feel that way when reading it? I haven't picked it back up because I did find the first issue a little on the boring side. So, but I know people love it, so I'm assuming it does get better, and most things do. So I've got more issues, and I intend to read them. I just haven't. But we'll get there. In terms of manga, I've been rereading Berserk. I'm almost done with that. I did that, started that for my episode, so I'm almost done with Berserk. And I'm reading some stuff, of course, by Naoki Urasawa, who's one of my favorites. Right now, Asadora is just, so cool. Such a great book. And then, what else? My Hero Academia. I have a co-worker who loves Naruto and is always recommending that I check that one out. So I may someday, just so that I can at least have a conversation with somebody that loves it that much. You recommend Nick Spencer's run? That's cool. I heard that it wasn't very action packed, but maybe that's just one person's opinion, so who knows. Favorite comic book inker? Oh, that's an interesting question, Damien. Well, I think you have to put Klaus Janson towards the very, very top. He brings a lot with his inks. I feel like he's probably my personal favorite. But there are guys like, Scott Williams, who really brought out what made Jim Lee, all that fine detail and cross-hatching. So there's all sorts of good guys. I took your advice from the Omni-Man stream, and I'm making my comic. Good to hear, Daniel. That's awesome. Day Tripper, that's Moon and Ba, right? I haven't read it yet. I need to. Your late off-topic question, what's your favorite games? Are you talking all time or right now? Because it's two very different types of questions, obviously. All time, I'm going to put things like Tetris in there, and Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Final Fantasy VII, but like also some more recent ones like Last of Us, and Last of Us 2 for that matter. Really anything by Naughty Dog, I guess. Halo, Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto. I like all the mainstream stuff, I guess. Nothing too fancy there. I always wondered who your favorite Superman writer is. Ooh. Craig Thompson is a top inker, yeah. No, I haven't considered reviewing the Dark Crystal comics. I've never even really watched the movie, to be honest. It just didn't quite appeal, so I don't really know much about Dark Crystal other than, the Henson people did the puppets. Favorite Superman writer. Well, this might be a little bit of a dark horse, but it also may just be too mundane to say, but you know what? I really liked what Alan Moore did with the character. In just a few stories, like Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, or What Do You Get for the Man Who Has Everything? Those are just perfect Superman stories. I'll also put Grant Morrison up there. I think what they did with All-Star Superman was just incredible. Just incredible. Yeah. Labyrinth and Fraggle Rock comics. I don't even know if there really are, if you're serious or not, because I don't... are there Labyrinth and Fraggle Rock comics? If so, I haven't read those either. You can't beat Tetris. No, you can't. Have you read Neil Gaiman's Sandman? I have. And I've been thinking of doing an episode, but just recently Matt Draper did a fantastic analysis of Sandman, so I don't think I want to do it right away because somebody else just did a fantastic episode, and I don't want to repeat any of the same information, so it's going to need to take some time until I've got sort of a fresh take on it. But if you're curious about a very recent look at what Sandman is, I definitely think that Matt Draper's episode is something special. As a comic book reader, when did you and your local comic book store really notice manga? Me and my comic book store? Was it something known to comic old heads way before it hit the mainstream, or did it hit you too? Oh no, I mean, before there was ever stuff from, Dark Horse and Viz and Tokyo Pop, there was manga being imported, mostly in the 80s. One of the big ones was Akira being colorized for Marvel through its Epic Comics imprint, and that stands as a very good adaptation for its time especially. Some of the first digital comics by Pat Olive and his crew, so that's just an interesting piece of history, but you can learn about that in my episode about Akira. There was other stuff coming out at the time. There were Robotech adaptations, and My the Psychic Girl was an early manga that was brought over here to the States. So I was seeing some of that. It was coming through smaller publishers like Comico. I'm trying to remember when I really started noticing it. Honestly, some of the earliest stuff I noticed was some of the stuff when Dark Horse got into it, with things like Blade of the Immortal and Berserk, which stand still as some of my favorites. And then personally, I got an extra level of appreciation for manga when I discovered the work of Naoki Urasawa in books like Pluto, Monster, 20th Century Boys. And I would call Naoki Urasawa one of my all-time top tier favorite writers and artists. Like, just if I'm ever making a list, Naoki Urasawa is going to either be at the top or near the top, depending on the day I'm asked. Right, yeah, by the 90s, Viz Comics was doing stuff like Battle Angel, Alita, Ellis Grieger points out. But, yeah. Did the Ducks end up buying a car for your work? Daniel is joking. It's nice to see you, by the way, Daniel. I had some Canadian geese. They were on the side of the street near where I work, and they were about to try to cross the highway. They were trying to, and cars started beeping at them, but not everyone was stopping, and I was really nervous for them. I'll be honest, I'm definitely a pretty big animal lover, and so I sort of ran out. I wasn't helping a customer at the moment, so I was sort of free, and I sort of just called gently to them and urged them to come sort of towards me, and they actually did, and they came onto my lot. I sell cars, and they were walking. I was sort of herding them at that point, like a border collie. I would just sort of go to their side so that they would walk one way. I was walking to them because in the back of my lot is forest and a river, and I knew it was safer for them there. So I had them like 6 Canadian geese walking single file through my car lot, walking by cars, and I made a video that I posted on my personal Facebook page, and it's gone over well. I've gotten a lot of comments from friends and family that really like it, because I don't know. In the moment, I thought it was funny. I just start talking to them as though they're shopping for a car. But no, they didn't buy anything, Daniel, so I guess I'm not too good of a car salesman. What do I think of Patrick Gleason art? I'm not super familiar with Patrick Gleason. Sorry, Miguel. Let's see. Have you ever considered a life-size depiction of your own bow sack? I don't know what a bow sack is. A life-size depiction of my own bow sack? Somebody help me out. What is a bow sack? I sincerely have no idea. I don't know if it's offensive or a joke or something real. Yeah, they crossed the street to buy a car from me. Anyway, yeah, no, it felt good, though, to just get them out of harm's way. The little dum-dums. They didn't pass the credit check. Spider-Man was always the hardest character for me to draw back when I was a kid. Getting his spiderweb designs on that costume to look right, especially with little art experience, is hard. I can understand that, sure. Oh boy, this pen is really on its last legs. I wish I had a better one. It's not helping, but it is a poor artist who blames his tools, I've always been told. So, I'll try not to complain too much. Because, seriously, you could give a Sharpie to, name your favorite artist here, and they would be able to create something that, is impressive and cool. Oh, super chat from Steve Sorensen. Oh, hi. I just want to say you were drawing, and I just wanted to support and listen to your most excellent stories. I hope all is well. That is all I got. Things are well. I just had my regular checkup with my doctor, and some of you out there may know that I'm diabetic. And during COVID, my diabetes went really out of control. And it was very scary for me. And I've been taking it very seriously for the last several months. And this was just yesterday that I had my appointment, and my numbers are all perfect. I was so proud of myself, and I feel so good, in general, guys. I've got a lot more energy than I used to. So in that regard, health-wise, I'm doing quite well right now. So that's something to be grateful for. No complaints there. Yeah, so something to be happy about. In terms of facing burnout and exhaustion, I, that's part of why I'm taking this trip in like a couple weeks to LA for just a couple days. I need a small break. I just feel like all I'm doing is working. Like and some of that is, that we're still in a pandemic, but, I'm not really seeing friends or anything. All I'm doing is either I work at my job and I come home and I try to put some work in on comic tropes, and all I do is work. And I don't get 2 days off in a row. I just get like a day off and then work for like 3 days and then a day off and work for 2 days. So I also have like all sorts of chores to do around the house. And I'll be honest, I'm very overwhelmed with how that all feels these days. We had a huge heat wave here in Washington State. Huge, like about 2 weeks, a little more ago. And we have central air at my house, which can be nice. My unit literally exploded. It was working so hard. It was a little older, and it exploded. I don't mean like, a movie explosion with like a fireball, but inside, the capacitor exploded, which caused the compressor to explode, fried the circuit board, and it shot fluid from the compressor into my ducts throughout my house. So I'm going to have to replace both the AC unit and the ducts, and we're looking at about $22,000 there. Now that's after I got hit with like a humongous tax bill, and then also a humongous hospital bill from, almost dying from COVID. So, I'm just like, yeah, work is going well and YouTube is going well, but I've been hit with 3 massive bills all at once, and it's very overwhelming. I'll just be upfront about that. It's very overwhelming to try to address all of it at once. It's so frustrating. Let's see. I got some super chats. That always helps. Get yourself a new Sharpie, my friend. I will, Steve. I'm not diabetic, but ever since my dad got diabetes, I eat drink as if I am diabetic. That's just smart. I'm eating really healthy these days. I have for several months. My numbers are perfect. They are not in any way diabetic right now, although once you're diabetic, technically you're always diabetic. But as long as I eat well, like I'm losing weight, I'm getting energy, and like I shouldn't have any complications. So that's something I'm really proud of. Little Raven also has a super chat and says, to make sure you take care of yourself as best you can. We're all richer for what you do. I'm definitely trying. I'm just really burned out lately. But I also like to be in touch with everybody, and that's part of why I do some of these. It's a lighter lift to do a live stream than to sit down and edit a whole episode, if that makes sense. But I am simultaneously working on a new episode, and I'll just like give you guys an idea. It's on the Golden Age, but it is not one of my sort of silly episodes where I'm just sort of poking fun at a ridiculous character. It's a much more sort of serious look at some of the weirdness of the Golden Age. It's definitely going to be the weirdest episode I ever make. I'm confident of that. It will be the weirdest episode I ever make. Hopefully that interests you as compared to turns you off. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. Health insurance in the U.S. does not even cover COVID. No, it does. It does. But how do I explain this? Like, okay, so my health insurance through work turns out is not really the best. Basically, what it is it covers like doctor's visits and things like that, where you just do a copay of something like $20 or $25, and usually it's the same for your medicine. But you have a maximum deductible, it's called, for the year of $6,500. You have to pay like that much, and anything after $6,500 is covered. Well, I was touch and go, like almost died in the hospital. Thank you, Steve. Proud to be part of the Comic Tropes family. Happy to have you. And anyway, so I hit, like, I went way past that in terms of how much it cost, to check on me and keep me alive. So I got hit with a $6,500 bill. Like, I hit my maximum all at once. So I got I've got a little over 6,000 of that still to pay, my tax bill, and then as soon as I can, get a new air conditioning unit and ducts for the house. Part of the fun of owning a house. Are you curious about Ryan Ottley and Donny Cates' upcoming Hulk run? Of course, I love them both. Those guys are both super talented. I made an episode about Donny Cates' work because I really admire what he does. I think he's one of the best new writers. I'll still call him new. And then Ryan I've known for ages, and he's fantastic. And I think that the two of them together should definitely come up with something amazing. And I like the Hulk. So, even though Immortal Hulk has been one of my all-time favorite runs for the character, I think that there's a good chance that I'll also really, really enjoy what these two do on the book. Definitely excited to see where it goes. What else am I thinking of? Whatever was in my head slipped out. That's what happens as I get older. Glad you're doing well physically. Sorry about the bills. It happens. What's my favorite action figure, asks Daniel. I asked this online today on my Twitter, Comic Tropes Twitter channel. My favorite, I'm looking at some of the ones that I have right now because I've got a lot of Hot Toys figures that I really, I like Hot Toys figures. I collect some of those. I don't have it handy, but you know what one of my favorites is my Marty McFly from Back to the Future Hot Toys figure. I don't know, I love that movie. I like how it looks. I think it really looks like him. But some of the other ones that I like are here. I just, I've got like a Hot Toys Dark Knight Batman. I don't know where the cape ended up right now. But I like the detail on that. Probably doesn't look too amazing there on the camera, but I like that. I've got like a somewhat cool like little Mandalorian guy here. Mando. Non-Beskar steel. And I've got one last one I'll show you. This is from Nika. Jason Voorhees from part 6. Yeah, part 6. Anyway, so those are a couple of the figures that I have that I like. What's your dream artist and writer team up? Ooh. My dream team up. It's a hard one to answer when I'm like sort of concentrating so hard on what I'm drawing, but it's a fun question to mull over. My dream team up. Might be like an artist that I really like, in the modern era, like say a Stuart Immonen, somebody like that, but like teamed up with a writer from the past that I kind of like and it could be anybody, like, in the 80s when I was growing up, there were all sorts of writers that I liked, from Alan Moore to Roger Stern, J.M. DeMatteis. That'd be kind of cool just to see one of those guys work with like a newer artist. Did you ever find your G.I. Joe figurine that you wanted? G.I. Joe figurine? I don't know what G.I. Joe I would have been looking for. I don't really collect G.I. Joe, so I don't know what that would have been. I haven't seen the Nika Back to the Future figures. I don't collect a lot of action figures, guys. Comics are definitely more than enough for me, I figure. So I don't have a lot. I just sort of focus on... I've got two things. I get some of the Marvel Cinematic Universe Hot Toys. I do get like one of those for like each main hero, and then I tend to get like any version of Donatello that I can find from Ninja Turtles, because he's my favorite turtle. Wow, thank you so much for the super chat, Magnus Care. That's so nice. Are you ever going to cover Korean manhwa? Yes, I would like to. I would very much like to. You know, I have an interesting story, somewhat tangentially related to that. You guys know that I work with comics, and yeah, you guys do know that. That's not what I meant to say. You guys know that I sell cars for my job. I've mentioned that before. I had a customer the other day, and I won't mention who they are because that's probably not the right thing to do. But the person was a very successful YouTuber. So we talked a bunch. Like, it came out that I did some too, and that was a really pleasant conversation. This person's way more successful than me, like 2 million subscribers. Okay, so very impressive. And this person is from Korea and got their start before they became like what they're famous for now, which is not comics. It's a cooking channel. Got their start working in Korean manhwa as an assistant, drawing backgrounds and stuff. So I was just like, oh my god, this person's the coolest. I thought that was awesome. I did one episode about Chinese comics, my episode about Tony Wong that I did when I was in Hong Kong. The easiest to do is, like, for other countries is I read a decent amount of manga, and then I also read some, like, bande dessinée and, various British comics. So that stuff will get worked in somewhat regularly, but anyway. Here in the UK, we are lucky our online stores get all the figures and we can find them fairly easily. Oh, wait a minute. Did somebody say that I do collect certain G.I. Joes? What the... I was thinking of old school G.I. Joes. Hello, Ignacio. Nice to hear from Argentina. And I'll come back to your question, Eric, about Scott Snyder. I totally forgot. Somebody asked, did I find the G.I. Joe figure I was looking for? And I was thinking of, like, old-fashioned. I collect the G.I. Joe classified line. And yes, I was looking for Major Blood, and a friend of mine who's a local comic book artist actually found an extra one and sold it to me at retail price. His name's Blackie Shepherd, and he draws stuff like... Reanimator and Pumpkinhead. He's done a bunch of like horror books with Clay Bunn, I think, is the writer. Anyway, he's a talented guy, and he very kindly got one for me. So I did find the G.I. Joe that I was looking for. I can't believe I totally forgot, like, and acted like, I don't collect G.I. Joe. Sorry, man. It's a good question. I don't collect that. Yeah, I do. Ever read any Korean manhwa? Not really. I'm aware of it. I know that it's really popular to read online as well. And I know that, like, the dramas tend to be some of the most popular stuff. I've got a coworker that reads a bunch of it, and the one that loves Naruto. And so she's told me a few cool titles. And I will read it at some point and make an episode about it. At some point. Colin Bunn. Yeah. Comic Tropes Toy Galaxy team up would rule. I like Toy Galaxy. I don't watch every episode, but I definitely think that they've got a great show. There's definitely a part of me that loves toys. I just don't collect too many because I think I've got that collector's mentality where I could go down a rabbit hole and, for instance, I'm not into something like Funko Pops, but if I was, oh my god, I'd have so many, my house would be overflowing because there's so much out there, So I try to intentionally like not let myself get into some things. You know what I want to find, and I don't seem to have it right here, is a technical pen so that I can do even finer detail, but I can't seem to find a technical pen. I think I moved a bunch of my art supplies upstairs and last time I was drawing, and then I did this impromptu, so I don't have all the tools that I want with me. Anyway, I don't know the Hellraiser anthology comics. No, don't know them. Need more South American comics. Remember the Aeronaut. I think you mean Eternaut, which I did an episode about, and I respect. Yeah, I would love to do more comics from like underrepresented areas, like, you know, but it has to be something that I am familiar with. I can't just go like, well, this is popular, so I'll just read the Wikipedia and rehash it to you. I don't want to do that. I sincerely always want to read the comic and understand it and give my best take on the material, if that makes sense. Hey, conventions are opening back up, and I'm curious, does anybody out there have any favorite Comic-Cons that they've ever been to, or ones that they go to like regularly? I'm planning on going to the New York Comic-Con, I think, this year. I'm not 100%. I got tickets for one of the days. I may try to get like a pro badge or something so that I could go some other days, but I like going to that convention. I'm just I equivocate a little with like, let's just make sure like we see where we are with COVID by, you know, October or November, whenever it is that's taking place. I don't want to be too down, but I'm curious, just in general, do you have any favorite Comic-Cons? And if so, like, what makes it your favorite? Is it just that it's local, or is it that it's they focus on a certain thing, like, you know, either back issues or current like deals or what? What art supplies do you want for your birthday? Oh, cool question, Gene. This isn't for any of you. You guys don't have to get me anything. Please don't. I don't share my address. I don't want you to buy me anything. But my sister is asking. I could always use these Pigma Sakura brush pens, especially the FB, the fine ones. And I could also use some Pigma Microns. And I also, in terms of paper, Gene, I like this kind. Number Borden and Riley, number 234 Paris paper for pens. Especially the 11 by 14 size. So if you're serious about like getting me some art supplies, that's what I could use, is some more pens and some more paper, because I go through that stuff a lot. Jamar! Hey, look at that. If you guys don't know who Jamar Nicholas is, well, first of all, you should. Jamar is a professional comics artist, and he does a show. I only know about it on Facebook, Jamar, but if it's on YouTube, list the YouTube channel name so that people here can know what it is. Jamar does a show with a lot of times Mike Manley, another guy that like I grew up with like Mike Manley on stuff like Darkhawk, and I always liked that. Borden and Riley is dope stuff. Thank you, Jamar. Anyway, super, super nice guy, super talented, and he's doing a book at Graphics, right? The Scholastic imprint for young adult readers. So anyway, a lot of people like Bristol, and Bristol's great, but personally, I love working on this Borden and Riley Paris paper. I just think this stuff's fantastic. It takes a pen. It doesn't bleed or anything. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah. I wish we could go to Comic-Con, but my family and I have to look after my nephew. Yeah, well, family comes first. I get that. Maybe next year. How long do comics take to draw in color? Is it all digital now? No, it's not all digital, although lots of steps are digital. I'm going to, by the way, clean this up at this point. I'm going to like start erasing my under drawing. No real need to keep that there anymore. It's going to vary wildly, like which step is done digitally versus like, not, but most coloring is done digitally. I will say that. Most coloring is done digitally, and there's not as much need for inking it anymore, although I think that like the work looks better when it's inked than when it isn't. But there's a lot that you can do with like, Photoshop or what's the other one that people use? Clip Studio. So, yeah. And how long does it take? Well, I would say a page a day is what like almost every industry seems to aim for, whether it's in America or Japan or anything. Japan does it weekly, and they're going to be putting out like basically like 7-page stories weekly. And here in America, it's more like 22 to 23 pages a month. You can say like, so of course that's in America. There's a few more steps too, because we color everything, whereas in Japan most of it is put out in black and white, although they do tend to put tones and stuff on it, which is cool. Hey, you know what, depending on how much time is here, maybe I'll put some ink to some screen tones on this. I like doing that stuff, and that might make it like pop a little bit more. I'm not the best artist, so even though I had a good pose, it kind of fell apart as I inked it, I guess. But that's why I ink, is to try to learn how to get better. I'm not the best inker at all. Although I will say that if I had some of my better tools, I might have been able to do a little bit better. Mike Manley, he used to teach at UArts when I went for animation. Yeah, that would be the guy. Jamar, I guess I've never figured out how you and Mike know each other, whether you worked on a project or if you just met at a convention or you just live in the same area or something. But yeah, they do a show together talking about comics and interviewing people. They do a really great comics show. So, just Google Jamar Nicholas or Mike Manley, and you'll learn something. If you like comics, they're good. I always try to promote other comic book related content on this channel, especially if by any chance I have a bigger following, and that's why I mentioned guys today like Matt Draper, Cartoonist Kayfabe, Jamar Nicholas. In many ways, I think these guys produce superior content to mine. But you know what? I've always felt like a rising tide lifts all boats. If we can grow a bigger, healthier, smarter fan base out there, I don't think it takes anything away from me. And maybe someday down the road, these guys have bigger channels than mine and can plug me back, so that I don't like just fall apart. Oh, the show is called Pencil to Pencil. I should have known that, Jamar. Sorry. When I'm drawing, I'm not always concentrating. Yeah, Pencil to Pencil. It's really good. Rick London. Ooh, I'm actually awake for one of these. Excellent, Chris. Yeah, I'm doing it a lot earlier than usual. Are you working on creator-owned comic? Yes. I'm trying to write out a couple ideas so that I could then hire an artist, and then we could like pitch, and if by any chance a pitch wasn't accepted, I feel like at this point with this following, I could always look into doing something crowdfunded. So ever since I had my what I sincerely consider a near-death experience with COVID, I've been like, ooh, why am I going so slow? I've always wanted to make some comics. I need to prioritize this. So yeah, I am in the process of writing out some ideas. One of them is a horror book. I've got a couple sort of sci-fi type ideas. No real superhero stuff. although I love superheroes, I just feel like it's a pretty crowded market. So if I can differentiate just a little bit by something else that I'm passionate about, maybe that gives me like, a good shot at like, finding a publisher that's also like willing to explore that kind of territory. So yeah, I am working on some ideas right now, and I'll keep you guys updated if any of that moves forward. But yeah, I think I'm at the point where, despite those bills I was talking about, like I think I could afford to, pay a talented artist for their time and effort, and then if we got picked up, we could all hopefully make some money. But I'm willing to make that investment in my ideas. I'll flatter myself by saying that I think I'm a better writer than I am an artist, and maybe that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but yeah, I would really like to I love the medium of comics, and who doesn't have a story in them to tell? So sometimes I'm like, well, wait a minute, does it make sense to make comics if I'm reviewing them? And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Of course it does. That's my favorite medium. Like, what am I going to try to make a movie or something? No, I want to make comics. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated. I would read your comic the day it comes out. Well, I think, that's super nice of you. Oh, yeah, Jamar points out, and let me just pass this plug along in case anybody isn't, like, seeing this, that they both, him and Mike Manley, work on Draw magazine, so you could check that out as well. That's a great resource. And he says that he met on the con circuit, plus you both live in Philly, old pals for 20 years. Well, I knew you guys had to live close to each other. I just didn't know if that's how you met, and I definitely know you're old school Philly. Doing a little East Coast swing. Very kind of you to drop into my silly little show. Hopefully I don't embarrass myself with what I'm drawing compared to you gentlemen. What can I say? I know I'm not the best artist, but I love drawing. I do think that I'm a better artist when I can draw digitally, because then I can't complain that, like, oh, you know what, this brush is a little too thick, or, oh, I don't want to redo that stroke. I do that a lot. Chrissy, my fiance, got me this amazing gift that I need to hook up and use sometime soon. Look at this. She got me this Huon, what do you call it, tablet. She got me a beautiful tablet where you can actually draw and see what you're drawing, like, on the tablet itself. Like, I don't have to draw down here, but, like, look at the computer screen. Like, I can actually see what I'm drawing on the tablet. Oh, my God. Oh, I can't wait to use this. All right, what's that? Hold on, guys. Oh, wait, that's what I meant to do. Yeah, okay. Had to put that person in a timeout. I don't know what 1, 2, 3 is supposed to mean. That was annoying. Sorry, everyone. I was right about Loki. I know, right? Took a swing on that one. I was just like, yeah, you know what? This will be fun. I go, but probably tomorrow when the episode comes out, I'm going to be proven wrong, and people are going to be like, take this video down, you idiot. But, I don't consider that the writers did predictable writing. I've just been observing storytelling for a long time, and I'm familiar with the comics, so it gives me a leg up. The canvas line is great, good pickup. Yeah, I'm so cool. Sorry, I heard a sound outside. I was just making sure everything was okay. I think somebody's moving. Motown Philly's back again. That's as much as I'll sing. I just realized that I'll get demonetized if because obviously I'm a great singer. I'd hit every note perfectly. So if I tried to do an impression of a song, YouTube, their algorithm would pick it up and go, nope, you didn't pay for that, demonetized. So, got to be careful. Huon is a great alternative to Wacom, plus the price is fair. That's, I think, what was being thought there. Yeah. Let me see. I have some things that I've drawn digitally I could show you, and, like, you know, you could sort of get a sense of, like, what my art looks like when I draw digitally. I think sometimes you could argue it looks a little stiff, but it's definitely more detailed. So, for instance, like, I live in Seattle, and I don't know how that looks best, but, like, there's Seattle at night, and, you know, I just decided to draw that, and I think it looks nice. You know, I'll flatter myself and say, like, that isn't, like, you know, a Photoshop filter or anything. Like, that's just me drawing the city. I love drawing buildings and stuff when I've got time, and I take my time when I draw stuff like that. But there was another one that I drew that I wanted to show you. Let me see if I can find that image, because I don't know where I save anything, but let me see if I can come across it. Talk amongst yourselves. I don't know how I'm gonna find it. I've got an idea. At one point, I was, yeah, I found it. I knew what to look for. At one point, I was giving some serious thought to drawing a comic about a real-life crime that happened here that's not been solved. You know, podcasts trying to investigate that stuff are fairly popular, and every once in a while they lead to additional information being uncovered. So that was my thought process. And so, like, this is about, like, I stopped because it was just too dark for me. It was about this poor lady here, Nicole. She and her fiance moved to Seattle. They were, like, you know, he got a job. She was learning cooking at the local art institute, and unfortunately she was killed in a drive-by shooting. It was probably intended for somebody else, but they never caught the guy, you know. And so for a little while I was thinking of making a comic about that, but it was just too dark and depressing, and I felt like maybe this is exploitative instead of helpful, so I stopped. But there's a page of, like, what I drew. I don't know how well you can see it, like, on this, but, you know, maybe more like that. Yeah, it's hard to show something digital, but just showing where she came from and who she was, and, like, setting up her story in just one page. And I like how it came out. That was all drawn digitally. I couldn't do it. Like, I was like, you know what? This is just too dark for me. Maybe someday something like that I'd have the energy to do it more. As long as maybe I could get, like, the family's blessing. If I would assume that they might be okay with something like that, because, you know, it's never been solved, and it would be good to bring attention to a cold case. Oh, thank you so much for the kind words, Josh. I do digital art and animation professionally, and I can't draw like that. Well, I don't know about that. Why is it called a building if it's already built? Asks Grug. What's the deal? This Mylar stuff protects comics so well. Why don't they build the whole airplane out of Mylar? What's the deal? What do you think of my stand-up, folks? Should I return to my stand-up days? Oh, in case I've never explained that, yeah, I used to do stand-up when I was in college. That was how I became friends with Ken Jeong. We were doing stand-up and improv and stuff together, and we became buddies. He was doing his residency at the time, because he is a real doctor, and I was in college, and we had a bunch of the same friends in common. I don't know if I'm going to get to see him when I go down to LA in a couple weeks or not, but super nice guy. And yeah, I used to do stand-up, but I didn't do it like that. What's the deal? Why do they call it HBO? Does it have B.O.? What's the deal with airline food? It tastes great. We have fingertips, but we don't have toe tips. And yet, we can tiptoe. Were you in B movie? Yeah. Okay. Love the stand-up. Thanks. Yeah, I worked real hard on those jokes just now. Pretty proud of that. Is this just a Peter Parker sketch? Yeah, just a Peter Parker sketch. Are you going to do a morph drawing? What's a morph drawing? I don't know what that is. What's a morph drawing? Is it a drawing of Morph from the X-Men animated show? And if so, why isn't it Changeling? I'll be the first stand-up to do exclusively jokes that only people that read tons of comic books will get. Have you read Batman number 214? I mean, what's the deal with this guy, Kite Man? Unsolved mysteries in the comics. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like people like true crime stories. And it is a little morbid, but sometimes some good can come out of it. So I don't think that it's all bad. And, you know, it keeps some of us alert and grateful. And I don't know, maybe true crime comics wouldn't be such... You know what? There have been true crime comics that have been good. There was, it's more of a biography, but there's The Green River Killer with art by, I want to say Ken Case. That's a good one. Must be Metamorphosis. Must be. I'm watching this while cooking dinner. This is the first time my wife has heard you. She's confused. I often have that effect on people. Do you connect with other Seattle-based cartoonists? I have a bunch of pals out there. I only know one guy that I was mentioning earlier, Blackie Shepherd. I don't know anyone else. When I was in D.C., I knew everyone. I helped put together this great group. We'd meet at least once a month, and we'd have drinks and just talk comics and collaborate on all sorts of fun, self-published indie things. And we'd put together an annual, well, it wasn't really a convention so much as like a festival, and that was a blast. I love those days. That was something I look back on very fondly. No, I haven't done that here, though. It doesn't seem like it's a great time to do it either. Like, you know, most people don't want to meet strangers these days. Who else lives around here, though, Jamar? I don't even really know who lives in the Seattle area. I just don't even know. You have the best introduction segues in the game. Thank you. I don't do them as often anymore because I don't want it to feel forced or like anything. It's only... humor is really only funny when it's sort of unexpected, so I only do it every once in a while if I feel like I've got a good joke. The actor that played Bambi grew up to be a Marine. Okay. Well, now you know. And knowing is half the battle. Yeah, I did like G.I. Joe, although there was one forced moment where they said, Yo Joe. But it isn't really the G.I. Joe team yet, so I was like, that's corny. But guess what? I forgive it. It was a pretty good movie. There's a Larry Hama cameo, and it takes place in Japan, a place that I've visited many times, so I recognized a lot of the places that they filmed at from, Kishiwada Castle, I recognized, in the Osaka region. I've been there. They filmed throughout Shibuya. I've been there. They filmed at the Robot Restaurant, which is this super, like, weird, tacky place in Shinjuku, but it's so fun. So I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah. I recommend it, actually. I like G.I. Joe, though. I grew up with it. And did I say that there's a Larry Hama cameo? That meant a lot to me because, like, yeah, if it's good enough for Larry, then I don't care what changes they make to G.I. Joe. In my opinion, he is G.I. Joe. You know, he's the guy that came up with all the best ideas for it and made it what it is, made it work. From the character descriptions to the comics. So, yeah, I recommend it. Oh, hi, you got me caught quoting Chris from Comic Tropes, talking about him, let's see him drawing Peter Parker. Gotcha. Do you think McFarlane is responsible for the way everyone drew the web of Spidey after him? Not 100%, but he's definitely, like, he was so popular that he definitely highly influenced it. Nobody had been drawing it that sort of spaghetti strand style in recent memory. Although I think if you look back that, like, sometimes Ditko did draw it a little more elaborate than people give him credit for. And I want to say Michael Golden had also drawn it kind of in a bunch of strands. It's hard to remember. I'd have to go back and look to check to see if I'm remembering that right. But certainly Todd McFarlane was incredibly popular, and it helped. And, you know, it's funny. People, like, remember, like, you know, Todd McFarlane's still, like, you know, a popular and influential guy. And it's like, did he have the most popular run on Spider-Man? No, it kept getting more popular even after he moved on. Eric Larson's Spider-Man sold more than Todd McFarlane's, and then Mark Bagley's Spider-Man sold even more copies than either of them. So Spider-Man kept growing in popularity even after the Image guys took off. What are you going to do in LA? Oh, we're going to go to the beach. We're going to go hiking in the hills. We're going to go to some of Chrissy's favorite art galleries that she's never gotten a chance to see. She's never been to LA before. We're going to go to one or two comic book shops. We're going to go to Disney for one day. I've never been to the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, so I want to go there. Anyway, yeah. Do you like Batman? Who doesn't like Batman? When will you ever talk about porn comic? I don't know. I guess it's possible I could talk about erotic comics, but it doesn't necessarily hold a lot of interest for me. It is a portion of comics, so it's not invalid, but I don't know. It would probably be, if I addressed it, it would probably be more in passing, you know, like, hey, so-and-so also worked in, you know, erotic comics or something, or so-and-so became a publisher of erotic comics, but, like, also did this or that. So that's probably more realistically what I would talk about if I addressed something like that. Yeah. What's the deal with porn? I mean, is it for getting turned on? Yes, it is. Oh, my mistake. Just gonna give it a little bit of color because that just sounds like fun. And then I actually have to take off pretty soon. We're gonna go see Chrissy's nephew today. I haven't seen him in over a year because of COVID. I don't know if I'm even allowed to say that word without getting demonetized. Hey, it's my pal Randy from Canada with a super chat. You didn't need to do that, Randy. Hey Chris, finally catching another live stream. I wish Death and Comics had sold a bit better, but as pledged, here's some cash from the sales. Hope it at least covers a lunch. Ah, that's nice. You didn't have to do that, man. I drew a one-page story with Randy for a book that he did called Death and Comics. All sorts of short vignettes that all related in some way to death. It was a good book. He did it as a Kickstarter, and he's got a another Kickstarter that was also just successfully funded, Sensational Swan, and he's got some more ideas. And what was your horror comic again? Oh yeah, Eskimo Kisses. That one came out last year from, I want to say, Scout Comics. So Randy's a great guy that I've known for, Jesus, like 20 years now or something. But we haven't gotten to see each other in a while because the Canada-U.S. border has been shut down. He only lives up in Vancouver, which is only like about 3 hours or so away from me. But I haven't been able to see him in a while, so it's good to have you jump in, man. Appreciate it. But if you're ever curious about how to do a successful Kickstarter, Randy's done like 3 of them at this point, something like that. Got to talk about cherry Pop-Tart, right. Good session. Take care, Chris. Thanks for jumping in, Jamar. That means a lot to me. There was this report about a little girl who was a toddler but went missing in the woods. Somebody found her 20 hours after she went missing, but she was 12 miles away from her last sighting. Okay. Have you seen the Iceman? Is it SJW or did they make the character gay? It's not SJW, and they didn't like. Well, I mean, yeah, he's gay. It seems to work pretty well. I thought. I think it made sense. He's never had a serious relationship. He just had kept that part of him unacknowledged, and now he's out, and that makes sense. You know, like the X-Men should like always represent a bunch of minorities, so it would definitely make sense to have one of their more prominent members be gay. So I think Iceman fit the bill pretty darn well. It didn't like undo anything that we already knew about him, you know. No, I think that actually was a pretty smart move. There was nobody out there that was like, I want an Iceman ongoing comic, but he better not be gay. Nobody was saying that. So, yeah, it made a lot of sense to, you know, it wouldn't make sense to make, I don't know, who's like a more prominent, like a character that's had like, you know, relationships, like Spider-Man, right? Peter Parker. He's always had love interests with Betty Brant and Liz Allen and Mary Jane Watson. That would be a weird retcon if they were like, and he's also been gay this whole time. But Iceman, he's never had a successful like relationship, and he's been around for like, you know, 60 years or something. So that made sense to me. I desperately wish they just confirmed Gambit is bisexual, like we all know he is. It seems like they have implied that Wolverine and Cyclops might be. But I think it makes sense for Wolverine too, personally. Yeah. Wolverine strikes me as he could go both ways. I don't know. If you could change one thing about the comic industry, what would it be? Probably just more emphasis on different genres. Although, really, like, the most successful comics these days are, you know, the things like, for kids, Dogman and Guts and Smile, Captain Underpants. Like, those are all comics, and that's the best-selling stuff. Some people are like, well, that isn't comics. Well, yeah, it is. It just isn't superhero comics for you, but it's definitely comics. Comics are successful. What think of Trailbozar? What that good? Is this English? I don't follow that one at all. Sorry. They should take a break from events for a long time to let the characters breathe and give time to establish their status quo before shaking it up. I like that, Ace. I do. I think that that would definitely be a big benefit for comics to sort of lighten up on all the events. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Because some of them, like these days, the comics that I read are the ones that get to have their own little space. Like I said, I really have enjoyed reading Immortal Hulk. And if it had any crossovers, all they do is just sort of give it like sort of a one-shot issue that, like, you know, fine, I can either read that or I can ignore it. But the regular ongoing monthly is just focusing on its own story, and I like that. I'm like, thank you. Just do it like that. Let me just read the ongoing monthly, and I don't have to deal with crossovers. And crossovers are fine if you were like, and, he bumps into the Thing from Fantastic Four. Okay, fine. I'm interested in that. But I don't need, like, events constantly interrupting the story that we're trying to learn right now about Bruce Banner and his enemies and friends and family, etc. I don't need that. I really liked Rick Remender's run on X-Force, Uncanny X-Force. That was not interrupted with all sorts of events. It just did its own thing. That's when I can enjoy a comic the most. Is just when it's allowed to do its own stories. Would you suggest Tokyo or Osaka, Kyoto area for once-in-a-lifetime trip to Japan? Ooh. It would depend on the person and what they want to do. You might get more traditional culture, history, and good food in the Osaka, Kyoto region. But there's definitely going to be more to do. You're going to still get some history, some great food, but also a lot more sort of like shopping and modern entertainment and stuff in Tokyo. So it really just depends. You gonna see Old? Yeah, probably. I went ahead and got the AMC movie pass that lets me see up to 2 movies a week for free. So I'll probably end up seeing Old. We'll see. You heard the chatter about Rick this morning? What are your thoughts? No, I haven't heard anything. Are you talking... The only Rick I can think of is Rick Remender. I definitely haven't heard anything about him, though, so not sure if that's the one you're speaking about, Randy. Hope there's nothing negative or bad that's happened to Rick. He's always been nice to me. Have you seen She-Hulk? They made her in a man. In a man? I don't quite understand the things you're trying to say, Bruce. And maybe there's a language barrier. I don't know if English is your first language. It doesn't sound like it is. So I don't quite understand everything you're trying to say. They made her in a man. I don't get it. There was some stuff going down with compensation to artists on Scumbag. Oh no. Well, I'll read up on it. I have not heard about that. I know Scumbag has been doing well, but also now that I think of it, I don't know if there's been an issue in the last month. Huh. Well, I'll check that out, Randy. I'll just try to be hopeful that things will be okay. I hate drama in the comic book world. It's just so unnecessary sometimes. I don't know. It's a small world, folks. Everybody knows everybody, so you gotta be careful. If you treat somebody bad, call them a name, shortchange them, that stuff spreads around like wildfire because there's just such a small world, and especially now with social media, but even before that, it was always a small world. An indie guy will know still, like, a mainstream guy will know somebody that works on, translating the stuff that's imported. Old school guys work with up and coming talent. It's a small world. Did I see Space Jam 2? No, and I have HBO Max, so I could just watch it for free at home, but it doesn't look very good to me. And I feel bad saying that because I do know Eric Bauza a bit, the guy who does a bunch of voices for that show, and I really respect Eric a lot, but it just didn't look very interesting to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is good, but it didn't look very interesting to me. They made her look like a man. Oh, well, I mean, sometimes she hulks out and becomes a monster, so I guess I'm sorry if She-Hulk isn't turning you on right now. That sounds like a really tough road to hoe. That sounds really tough. Oh, I was reading She-Hulk and I didn't get a boner. Well, alright, I got one, but I was expecting at least 3. Anyway, yeah, sorry that you're not enjoying it, I guess. I don't know what else to say. That doesn't sound very important. Oh, man. The OG Space Jam wasn't very good either, but let's be honest, but it's dumb fun. Yeah. I think that, you know, some movies are made for kids, and that's totally fine. But the best movies that are, like, sort of aimed at kids are still things that, like, everyone in the family can enjoy. For instance, I would say most Disney movies. You know, most Disney movies are made pretty well and would entertain the average person. You know, I really like things like Lion King and Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin. Those weren't really, like, even when those came out, I was like, you know, a teenager, 20-something, I can't remember, but, you know, in other words, like, not exactly the target market, but I still can enjoy them, and still do. So the best stuff is like that, and then sometimes there's stuff that's really just for kids, and you know what? Fine. It entertains them. Comedian. Wife is really confused now. Are you coloring with coloring markers? Sort of. They're not exactly markers. They're alcohol-based. These are Copics. So, sort of. Sort of. I have not heard about Spider-Man Lotus. What's that? What is that? What else should I use for a color? I think that his jacket should be sort of like... implied to be some sort of like leather or something. So let me see what I've got for that. I'm gonna mix between Copic and off-brand Copic, and let's see how that works. Maybe a little darker than I intended, but so far so good. Interesting. Interesting to experiment with this stuff. And that's what this mostly is, by the way. Like, when I draw, it's mostly just me sort of experimenting. Spider-Man Lotus looks so good. It's based on a college Peter Parker dealing with the aftermath of Gwen's death. It's a fan film. Oh, okay, a fan film. I've never really... I can't think of a fan film I've ever come across that I liked, but I'm not against them. I just can't think of one that I've liked. The acting is always kind of rough. Sometimes the music, editing, lighting, all that stuff can be good, but usually the acting and the script are pretty rough. But you know what? It's usually meant as a labor of love. There's a certain audience that loves it, and sometimes it helps people get their foot in the door. So I totally understand the point. I just can't think of one off the top of my head that I've ever been able to enjoy. Maybe I'm forgetting a popular one. Chris in a mood today. Not trying to be necessarily, just having fun. Probably you've already answered this question, but have you seen the Loki series? Yeah, man, I made an episode with my predictions of what the final episode would be, and I nailed it. Yeah, I liked it, actually. It's not really a complete story, but you know what? It's a TV show. It wasn't meant to be like a short film or anything. It's got a season 2 coming up, so you have to sort of judge it on what it is. And I think as a TV show, it works pretty darn well. I like Sylvie. I loved seeing like some of the variants of various characters in there. I loved the villain. I don't know. It was good. I liked it. But why wouldn't it be, in a way? Like, you know, even if it was a really bad script, you have to think that with actors like Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston, like, those guys are capable of, you know, if they had to, like, reading from, say, a phone book, and you'd be entertained. So, you know, they're good actors, so it wasn't a surprise too much. Oh, look at this. Sir Mr. Howell with a super chat. Wish I could spare some more. It's very generous of you. But I couldn't let the night end without showing you some more appreciation for you being you. Sincerely appreciated. Sincerely. Wished it was Loki in the end. I can understand that. But you know what? Hey, maybe in season 2 we'll get a variant of Loki that's interesting like that. Who knows? I'm looking forward to What If. I think that should be a blast, you know? That's a comic I always loved reading as a kid. I did. You know, I sold off like all my comics when I moved across the country a little over 7 years ago. I've mentioned that before, and some of them I really miss. And there was one I really miss of What If. It was volume 1, I think issue 44, if my memory serves. It may not be, but it was a Captain America story where he got thawed out much later. Meanwhile, his replacement Captain America, Burnside from the 50s, has been Captain America this whole time, and he's made the world a much worse place. Man, I would love to read that again. What If sounds like fun next month. It should be. I think it should be. Yeah. What episode you looking forward to most in What If? Well, I mean, I don't know what all of them are, so that's a little hard to guess. I would say... Probably the one I'm looking forward to the most from what I've seen so far is what if Black Panther, T'Challa, was abducted instead of Star-Lord, Peter Quill. So like the Ravagers abduct T'Challa instead of Peter Quill, and he becomes Star-Lord. I'm curious to see that. Like, obviously T'Challa's a really clever guy, and it would be interesting to see a guy like that, like, raised by a bunch of brutish pirates, and see like what kind of path his life would take instead of like one where he's being groomed to be the king. Does he still have those leadership qualities? Is that inherent in him? I don't know. I think so. Why did they make Spider-Woman pregnant for? Oh my God, Bruce. You are way too hung up on certain superhero things. Like, if you're 12 or 13, I get it. Your grammar sounds like you're 12 or 13, and so I get it. And I probably would have been hung up on these things at that age too. But if you're an adult, you got to care about something else, man. Like, it's just not that important. It just isn't that important. I'm trying to be nice, too. I'm not trying to be mean. Why did they do it? To tell a new story. Like, why is any story told? To do something a little bit new and fresh. See where it goes. We don't want to see the same stuff rehashed over and over all the time. And some of it won't work for you. That's okay. Just ignore it and move on to the next. That's why I don't read too many superheroes these days. It's not all for me, but that's okay. Are they going to do an episode of What If Agent Carter took the Super Patriot formula? They are. They definitely are. At least that's the way it looks from the previews and stuff like that. Man, Peggy Carter, what a great character she ended up being in the MCU, right? Like, I like that show, Agent Carter. I loved the happy ending the Cap got in the Avengers movies. I don't know. She's great. She's great. I don't think they ever intended to bring her back for more than just the first Captain America, really. And then she ends up, like, you know, in a cameo in Ant-Man and, you know, a cameo in Age of Ultron and things like that, because she just carried so much weight. Like, that relationship she had with Steve Rogers in the first Captain America was really convincing. Wish they could do it live action. It would be too cost prohibitive, I think, to do all that they want to do with What If that way. I mean, even as it is, you know, they're not getting all of the actors back to do their voices. Like, you know, who most of the Marvel cast is coming back to do their voices for for What If, but not Chris Evans or Robert Downey Jr. And I bet you anything that, honestly, that just comes down to money. Because it wasn't just for, I don't think either of them, it wasn't just the paycheck for how they got compensated on the movies. I think that they also made a percentage of, like, box office. And so they were getting, like, at least Robert Downey Jr. was, and he was getting paid a fortune. They just literally couldn't afford his going quote for What If. But fortunately, in animation, sometimes you can get a good sound alike, and it doesn't really detract. Herbie is the most important member of the FF. Well, I think we all agree with that. Herbie. Yeah, if anyone doesn't know what that is they made a cartoon in the 60s, I want to say. Might have been the 70s, but I think it was the 60s. Based on the Fantastic Four, but there was concern about having the Human Torch on it because they thought kids would light themselves on fire to emulate the hero. So the fourth member of Fantastic Four in the cartoon was just this dumb little robot called Herbie. It was disappointing. Chris Sears, gotta eat. Have a good evening. Peter Parker looks good. Thank you. Who would your top 3 favorite artists and writers be? I'll put Naoki Urasawa for 1 slot on each writer and artist. Then I'll add... this is hard. I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to, like, give that too much thought. I just don't know right now. The 60s cartoon had the torch. Now, there's one cartoon for the Fantastic Four that didn't have the Human Torch, and I thought it was the first one, and so I thought, oh wait, the 60s, right? I'm not talking about the cartoon that was basically almost Clutch Cargo level animation where, like, you know, it was just panels taken from the Jack Kirby comics. And so they did make some shorts, but then they also had a short-lived cartoon. And maybe it was the 70s. I can't quite remember. Bear with me, I need to see what colors I have here. Thoughts on Ninja Turtles 1990? You talking about the movie? I like that movie. I like it quite a bit. Yeah, this is the one I want. Yeah, that... And you know what? Some of that's going to be nostalgia blinding me, but I'll always think that the 1990 Ninja Turtles movie was fun. I'm running out of time here. If I had a little more time, some of the things I'd be doing would be drawing the actual buildings in the background. I would probably do that with, like, blacks and yellows and set it at night. Have, like, the sky just turning, like sun setting. I'd put in sort of like pinks and purples in the sky. And then I would come back on this with some gray Copics so that I could add definition, like add shadows. And then... because that's one of the cool things you can do with these is draw over it to sort of get lighter and darker hues. Well, really just darker hues. And so that's what I would do if I had unlimited time. But like I said, I do have an appointment. We're going to be leaving, Chrissy and I, in just a couple minutes. So literally I got to finish this up in just a minute or two. But I've had a good time talking to everybody. Thank you so much for helping me pass the time, asking interesting questions, and hearing me out on my dumb thoughts. TMNT is great. Wish the toys were cheaper. Oh, sure. Google says the new Fantastic Four was 1978. I guess maybe it could have been. Yeah, it doesn't sound wrong. It's been so long. I saw a couple of those reruns as a kid, but I don't know it super well. But that's the one with Herbie, then? It must be. It must be. Well, let me just get one last color here. I'm going to sort of grab a goldish for like a belt buckle, and then I'm going to call it. Steve says they didn't have the rights to Human Torch. That's why he wasn't in it. The character had been optioned separately for use in a solo movie. Oh, so you're saying it wasn't because people were worried about like kids setting themselves on fire, that it was just optioned separately? If that's the case, I had no idea. Huh. Well, learn something new every day. All right, folks, so there's my Spider-Man, really Peter Parker for the day. I'm going to have to call it here, but I had a great time talking to everybody. Thank you to everyone that showed up, from viewers to members. I appreciate your support a lot. To some of my friends and pros like Randy and Daniel and Jamar. It was great. I love seeing all my regulars. I love meeting new people. This was a lot of fun, folks. I do have to take off. Like I said, I've got an appointment, but thank you so much. I will see you soon. I'll be working on the next comic tropes later tonight after this appointment that I have, meeting family, and then we'll have that out real soon. So until I see you next time, please keep reading comics.